Welcome back to My Thin Journey, the podcast where we decode the money moves, mindset, and moments that shape financial freedom. I'm your host, Mustafa Ladha, and today's guest is someone who's been behind the scenes of transformational leadership at the highest levels. Miyelmii Abraham isn't just a coach, she's a strategist trusted by Fortune 500 companies, top universities like MIT, and over 500 C-level executives across the globe. She's helped organizations scale, teams perform, and leaders become legacy makers. But today we're going beyond the resume. We're digging deeper into how Miyelmi thinks, how she builds wealth, why intentionality matters more than just hustle, and what it really takes to lead a meaningful life. Whether you're 22 and figuring out your first career steps, or 52 and pivoting into purpose, this episode has something for you. Let's dive in. Miyelmi, thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Mustafa. Thank you for inviting me. It's my pleasure to be here with you and share this conversation with your community. So I appreciate that introduction.
No, you're too kind. So, Miyelmi, take us back to when you were starting out professionally. Help us understand, your career trajectory so far.
Yeah, of course. Well, I started my career like many years ago. I'm not gonna put into that here, right? I'm from Venezuela and I got a bachelor degree in business. I came from a family. My mom was a business executive too, so she pushed me into a career environment. She actually was working in HR, so that helped me connect me in a way with that career path, like make me keep focusing on growing and how important career was. So I complete my bachelor. I remember I started a diploma in finance then, and then I studied 2 years English, and then I started my MBA. So it was all one after another until at some point I realized, I got a job actually in my first job with a large company was with Gillette, which is now a P&G brand. And at some point I realized like, okay, let's pause a little bit this focusing on just academic credentials and get into the real world and learn how this is and start developing skills. So I started my career in sales. Then I got an amazing opportunity with Kimberly Clark in marketing, supporting different initiatives from trade marketing and branding across different brands within the company. And after that, I have an opportunity to make a little bit like a twist of my career, jumping into the business intelligence and supporting sales teams with Shell. With then, I had the opportunity to go in deeper in a different side. So I was working in sales itself. So I learned the negotiation, the customer needs, and the delivering solutions. Then marketing, understanding consumer insights. With Shell, I had the opportunity to go in deeper into the intelligence of the sales process, sales report, sales analysis, opportunities in the market. And in that process, I had the opportunity also to develop sales teams and marketing. One of the leaders I had the opportunity to work with, when she started working with me, one of the inspirational parts she did with me was asking me, what are you doing now? What do you love or you're passionate about what you do? And if you could do something different, what it would be? And after that long conversation about I'm passionate about marketing and commercial side, she told me, okay, this is not marketing. We're not in marketing, but what else can you do, or would you like to do? And I would say, oh, I always been passionate about training, development, people support their growth, and we create an action plan together that put me in front of a training and development role for sales and marketing teams across Latin America. And that was the first step into this journey on how I support people to grow. Then I came to the US. It was an interesting moment actually living a stable job to come to a different country with no safety, with not guarantees, no roadmap, professionally speaking, a different language. But it was quite interesting because that's helped me to set a goal in my mind. So then I just started building my career here in the US, trying to find opportunities in the same area, sales, marketing. But eventually, after a couple of opportunities in that area, I realized that I wanted to go beyond that. So I got a certification as a coach. I started helping people understanding the US market, the job market, I meant. Because at the beginning it was hard for me, hard to understand. When I migrated, a lot of people tell me, like, you know what, keep in mind that your experience is not valuable. You have to do whatever you have to do, but you're never gonna work for a company there because your experience is not valuable there. And many people come here with that mindset. But in my mind was a different story. I think like I really want to go back to a company after working with Fortune 500 companies and say, why my experience is not valuable here? Of course it is. I know I have academic credentials, I have experience, I have knowledge. I'm not starting from zero. I'm coming here, starting a new chapter, but with experience. So I get some expertise in how to break into the job market and understanding interview processes, LinkedIn, resumes, and everything that you need to land a your dream job until I got it. And then I jump into an HR position, which is makes more sense to me at that time, making it easier to understand the value I can add to others by doing it and supporting their career success. So that's what I'm currently doing it. So dedicating as a career leadership and career coach, supporting career paths from different professionals, from entry level to high level professional. And I've been working most recently with senior executive top professionals with their career performance.
I love that, Melmi. It's so powerful. I just want to
Thank you.
rewind a little bit, if you don't mind, and understand your journey a bit more. So you
Of
started
course.
out by mentioning that you're born and grew up in Venezuela and your mom worked in corporate culture and that you're decently educated. You have an MBA, you have a couple different certifications, etc. So help me understand, from your perspective growing up, what was the mentality like? Like obviously I'm not Venezuelan. I want to understand what the mentality was like in Venezuela when you compare maybe yourself growing up to your friends, were your friends' moms working, were they in that corporate work environment? Help draw a picture for me if you don't mind.
In Venezuela, we were very career minded. Most of the people was career minded. Actually, we were kind of like, for us was two different options, like either an associate career or a bachelor or engineer. But for most of the Venezuelan people was kind of like, we need to complete a career. We need to have a career in something. Actually, even learning a language for us, and learning English and Spanish was kind of like, if you don't do that, your opportunities are, too low. So for us, learning different languages, I remember I tried different languages, not only English, but my mind was clicking. You need to focus, Miyelmi. I cannot learn multiple languages at a time. And I say, okay, perfect. Let's focus on English first. And it's funny because now I'm studying Portuguese, and my brain, the way it processes information, when I start talking to someone in Portuguese, I immediately switch to English. I truly believe in that quote, as you become the average of the five people you are with. Definitely, your environment has an impact on your decisions. So for me, growing around corporate or employees or that dynamic helped me to get inspired. And I always knew that getting a career in business, at some point I considered psychology, but it was still focusing in the corporate world.
I love that, Melmi. Very powerful. And I like that you kind of summarized it very cleanly to say that, a lot of us become the average of five people that we're around. So, Melmi, help me understand, like you transitioned from maybe studying a lot, getting a lot of academic degrees to that real world experience that you mentioned. You started in sales. A lot of people, it feels like when they start in a certain niche, certain industry, a certain business line, they don't really change. So, what led you to decide to change from sales to marketing to then business intelligence? Help us understand the psychology behind those decisions, if you don't mind.
Of course, I think it's a good, for me, sales. It's part of what most people do and everything that we do. And I think when you decide to do a transition, in sales and marketing are always in many ways related. And I always said, always you can switch careers if you focus on transferable skills. In my case, when I did that transition, happened that Gillette, I used to work with Gillette at that time, and Procter bought Gillette. And in that transition, I need to explore my options or staying with them or exploring other opportunities. I have the privilege that I got three job offers at that time. Once I got with L'Oreal, another company was a local personal care company, and with Kimberly. And the way I saw it, it was like my bachelor, it was business and with a marketing specialization. So at some point I said, I really want to do this because it's my passion. And I think when you can connect something that you're passionate about with your career, that is a better opportunity for you to be successful. So when I saw the opportunity to start a career in marketing, which is something that I was passionate about, and at the same time, not getting separate from sales because I will be supporting the sales teams by understanding the consumer insights. Definitely, I did the switch. I think it's the passion about something that's what made me make the decision. I always said the best job we can ever have is a job that you feel connected with. Actually, I'm a true believer of the ikigai concept from the Japanese culture about the purpose, your career purpose. And that's why I do what I love now, or I love what I do both in terms of like my career now is an amazing combination of I help leaders to build their personal brand. So I'm using now concepts from marketing, from sales, and from HR, which is where my career has been. So I think it's passion is the key.
I love it. I love it. So, Miyelmi, you said something that I think is very powerful. You said when Gillette was bought out by P&G, you had three options. You had three other job opportunities on the table. Now, I'm of the mindset that job opportunities don't just fall on your lap. So help us understand, were you applying for those jobs? Were you seeing what the market looks like? How did that opportunity present itself to you? And why were you positioning yourself like that?
Thank you for bringing that up. I think,
Because you made it look effortless, like everyone wants me, which is
yeah.
fine. I agree. Everyone does want you, but I feel like there's some nuance there.
No, that's a really good point, actually, because one of the things that I work with my clients is how important is build relationships and having a strong network that is able to support your career goals is the foundation of a successful career path. In that case, one of the leaders that I had in Gillette, I remember he told me relationship is the key. So if you want to build a successful career, you need to have or build a strong relationship with people. Is, setting clear goals and who you want to connect with and where you want to go. So where are you coming from is important. Where are you now, but where are you heading is really important too. So with that in mind, I built a strong relationship at that time. When I was working in sales, I set myself surrounded of successful people, not only other sales reps from other companies, but also with managers, with the different leaders, their bosses. And I used to talk to them, build a strong relationship, selling myself in multiple ways. I remember at a time when I had a client and he was it was a difficult client. It was an important account that represents 80% of my portfolio. And he was very high demanding. And that struggle was not just with my company, it was with different companies. So all of us create like a group of people supporting each other in many ways that we were facing that challenge. That person was, the decision maker was he has a very personal, aggressive approach, but that help us to be more resilient. So we create like a community and we support of each other and learn from each other. I remember one member of another company, she told me once like, I asked her like, what did you do that this person with you is so nice and his with the rest of us is not? And she told me, well, one thing that I do is this and this, and that works pretty well for with me. And I was, always taking notes and say, okay, this works with here, this work. That helped me to even build an amazing relationship with that client. And actually, the opportunity I got with L'Oreal, it was because he told them like, I want her to be my account manager. So that was a part of the process. So relationship, building relationship, and having a strong networking, I think, is the key
I
for
love
them.
it because I think a lot of people say like your net worth is your net worth, but it's really
Exactly.
powerful when you hear people explain how they're able to build strong relationships and monetize off the relationship. Because I think the intention with a strong relationship is not to use someone, it's not to abuse anyone, it's to help
No,
everyone grow. Ultimately, your client likes working with you because you get your work done for him in a way that
exactly.
makes sense to him. So he would like to continue working with you. And if that means that he's working with L'Oreal and you're coming with him, then that creates an opportunity for you. So, Miyelmi, I really appreciate how you kind of wrap that in a bow for us. Earlier in the conversation, you mentioned something, and it felt like there was a lot more to unpack. You mentioned how you had a lot of stability in Venezuela and you decided to move to the US and essentially start from scratch. Help us understand, financially, how stable were you in Venezuela? Why did you decide to move to the US and how did you kind of build it back up in the US?
Yeah, well, actually, in Venezuela, I have this work which it was a really high level role. It was a leadership role overseeing Latin America. So my income was in dollars, in American dollars. Venezuela currency was a totally different
Yeah,
currency, right?
yeah.
And at
Uh-huh.
that time, probably now many people is receiving dollars, but at that time it was not a common. So since we work with a company like Shell, I used to receive that. So my salary was good. I have my own house, my car. So everything was going well. It was more of a political situation that I left the country. So when I came to the US, I set myself a goal to find a job because of that stability, working with a large corporation that allowed me to get that stability, that career opportunity that I had there. But yeah, it was an important decision. So, like I mentioned at the beginning, I came here with no safety net, no local network, no roadmap, professionally speaking, no guarantee. So everything I had built could be unraveled. But I remember telling myself that this is not the end of a chapter. It's actually the start of a reinvention process. And that mindset gave me the courage to lean into uncertainty, turn disruption into purpose. And that's the key. I always, the other day I was talking with a friend and I always said, every time that I feel that something is not working as I expected, and I know this sounds like very cheesy because many people say this, like many people think like ask always yourself why this happened. And I saw, you can hear it multiple times. But that question is so powerful when you ask yourself, why is this happening to me? What is this situation comes here to show me? And when I did that, I realized that this is the only way that have me, because at the beginning it was too hard to land that job. It was a combination. It was if I tried to find a sales job, they used to tell me like, yeah, your English is good, but you still have an accent and I don't see that connection with the clients here. When I look at in marketing role, at the beginning it was traditional marketing and now we were into digital marketing, so I didn't have digital marketing experience and it was like, oh my gosh, this is so frustrating. So I landed a couple of jobs in sales and then I realized, you know what, I when I landed, like I mentioned at the beginning, I became an expert on this process. So I really need to land a job. What should I do? LinkedIn, resume, interviewing. So and I started helping friends and different things. But some point I remember I decided to do the transition into coaching and helping people to find the job they deserve, because making that decision between living in a steady career or a steady job and move to a different country, actually one of the things that I'm doing now is one of the contracts that I have is with a company that we support professionals with relocations and outplacement. And within the relocation process is a common thing. They are scared. It's a new country, it's a new community, they're bringing their families. There is a lot of uncertainty and they don't know what to do. Even though they have a job, I didn't come with a job, but they have it. But still, they struggle with that part. And I think it's really important. Remain focused on what you want, understand the value of your experience, no matter which country it is, no matter, just focusing on the skill set you have and how can you highlight that. I have some clients that they told me, oh, Yelmi, I speak English and I speak, I don't know, some of them speak Chinese, others speak, I have like where Sweden or different countries. And I say, I don't see how that is valuable here. I say, everything you know is valuable. You speak two languages, that's valuable, no matter which language it is. So just try to find a company which is going to value that, because not everyone speak two languages, not everyone speak three languages. So the other day I was talking with someone, say, well, actually I speak four. It was like, and you're telling me that you're not, well, but there's all, languages that is not that common. That's valuable. So focusing on your skill set and your expertise. So that's what was relevant to me in that transition, because at the beginning it was challenging, but I think that what happened to me shape how I now guide others, helping professionals build from clarity, not from crisis, and see change not as a threat, but as an invitation to expand.
I think it was very powerful. And there's so many different points that you touched on that I think are worth recapping. First and foremost, a lot of people live in different countries, and sometimes the political crisis is beyond our control. From my perspective, as an entrepreneur, setbacks can be challenging, and it's important to continue to double down on yourself. And when it's a setback geopolitically or just way outside of an individual's control, and you have to start from scratch, it's not easy. When you have to leave everything you've ever known and start from scratch, it's even harder. So not only, props to you and kudos to you, but I think when I talk to a lot of different entrepreneurs, it's that mental resilience that sets them apart from other people to say, hey, I can do this, even if everyone is saying I can't. And you epitomize this and you've reiterated this in so many different ways. Even when you said earlier in the conversation, I'm coming to the US and people are saying that my skills are not valued. People are saying that my experience is not valued. I would argue, I would think I'm somebody who has very like growth mindset. You can accomplish anything. And I would be of that mentality to say, no, somebody coming from Venezuela, Mexico, Pakistan, India, China, wherever, their skills will not be valued in the American marketplace until you make the market value you, which is how you positioned it with the right type of branding, finding the right types of companies, positioning yourself where people value you and really approaching it from clarity, not crisis. But I would argue it's so hard for people to do that without having somebody like you in their corner to show them the path to say, hey, listen, I've been where you are, and it's really not that bad. This is the path you walk. The first mile is going to be difficult. The first couple steps are going to be difficult, but you'll get there. So, Melmi, I mean, I know you've alluded to it, but really help me understand in a very clear picture who are the clients or companies or individuals that you help, and how exactly do you help them?
Of course. I have different sources of clients to say something. In a way, like I mentioned, I work with this company, for instance, so they are experts in relocations and outplacement processes or in mobility, like professional mobility. And basically, how I help them, I'm a coach, an integration coach assigned to them. So I either help them, the relocation employee, with his career path, the plan with the first 60, 90 days plan, or the first 180 days, like the first 6 months on the job. How can they build a strategic plan to be successful on his new role? or I can support their spouses to find a new career in the new community, get integrated in different ways from the social perspective to professional role. And also, I'm teaching now leadership in two programs, with one with MIT and one with the University of Chicago. And with them, I'm working with C-level executives. So with the MIT, they also have within the program, they assign a career coach. So, in addition to the leadership journey, I support them with the career goals. Some of them are jumping into an entrepreneurship, like a consultancy business. Some of them, they are in a director position and they want a C-level role or a VP position. I help them to identify, like, I have created a career framework with 5 stages, starting with a goal in mind, with a clear, a well-defined goal, like in a smart basis. Then help them to understand or running a gap analysis between where are you now and where you want to be, where you heading, and see what exactly who you want to be in the next 12 months, 3 years, or 5 years. In that gap analysis, we're going deep in all of the elements, not only to find what they're missing, sometimes what makes them unique, what is the different, what set them apart from other leaders. So based on all of the things we find out in that gap analysis, we start building their personal brand. And the personal brands include, like not just a resume or LinkedIn profile. It's talking about your elevator pitch, how do you introduce yourself, how you position yourself, the things you talk about on social media. And based on that, we build a networking strategy. So who do you want to connect with, how you want to connect with them, how you reach out to them, where are they actually? And that includes only virtual or online networking, but also in-person activities. And we ended up working on a path, a strategic plan on how to be successful in the next 12 months, 18 months of their careers, including the first 6 months within the role. So that's kind of the things that I work with the professionals that are my clients from different sources.
That's awesome, Miyelmi. Keep up the amazing work. Like,
Okay.
I'm pretty active on social media, and I think it's one of the things that it can take a while to decide to commit to it. But then once you
It is.
commit to it, it's so scalable beyond people's belief that to some degree, at least for me, I'm thinking, why didn't I start sooner? So Melmi, from your perspective, right? You went from having a lot of stability in Venezuela, transition to the US, building back that stability and helping others do the same. What do you think when you look at your own personal financial picture and your own personal financial stability and people that you help, whether they've been relocated or whether they're C-suite executives, what do you feel like is the hardest challenge for people to overcome?
Self belief in themselves. I think is a common challenge I see in my clients when they come to me is the imposter syndrome. They don't know themselves. That's why always said, like, the first step to a successful leadership is a self leadership. But they don't invest time in understand themselves, in understand what motivates them, what are their purpose, what is that self-awareness. It's so important, and a lot of people don't take the time to do that. And it's funny when we start working together and I presented themselves things like, I don't know, like even a simple document like the resume, when they see it, a common thing I see is like, oh my God, this is me. And I say, yeah, of course it's you. Or is there anything out there that is not true? No, everything is true, but oh my God, looks like a totally different person. So it's like they discovering themselves, because they don't believe it. And if you don't believe it, how do you expect someone else believe in you? If you don't believe in what you do and the value you can add, and that's an important part. Like, we tend to focus on, many people say, yeah, you can see on their LinkedIn profile, they start saying the credentials, right? Like, oh, I'm a Fortune 500 company leader. I have this academic credentials and I have an MBA. Like I always said, like, when I introduce myself, if you're going through my LinkedIn, that's not the first things you're going to hear from me. I'm not going to start saying, I have a bachelor, I have an MBA, I have this or this. Of course, I need to highlight some stuff that help me to position or build some authority that allow me to support C-level executives, right? Because otherwise they're going to say, if I tell them like, no, I have 10 years of experience, how can you help me? No, I have 25 years of experience, so I need to tell you. But my talking points never start from me. It start from the value I add to them. So I help professionals to do this. I help leaders to stand out from the crowd. I help leaders to build successful careers. So who you help, how you help them, and what's the benefit they get from you, you're not connecting with who you are. You are connecting with who you are, but that's actually even more powerful. It's not about your credentials, it's about the value you add to others. And we need to understand that as leaders, as professionals, as human beings, what is the type of value you are adding to others? And you mentioned an important thing earlier in the conversation. In the networking process, it's not about taking advantage of it of others. When we met together through LinkedIn, it's gonna like, how can we add value together? Like, oh, Miyelmi, I want to invite you to my podcast. Okay, perfect. So is there anything I can add to your community? Yeah, let's talk about this. So it's a mutual relationship. Like it's adding value in two ways. And that's how it works. If you're going to connect with someone, think about how can you connect with that person, not by asking a favor, but adding value to them. And they will give you the favor you have in mind. They will support you in the way you are expecting. But it's basically how you're adding value to that person. So, and that's how I see it from leadership, from networking, from everything. So I think that's important piece here.
I love that, Miyelmi. And I especially loved how you started with imposter syndrome because I work with over 247 investors passively, investing in real estate, building financial stability. From my perspective and from my own journey, imposter syndrome is real, and it doesn't always make sense to me. If you are a C-level executive, if you're somebody managing hundreds of millions of dollars, how can you have imposter syndrome? But the flip side is that imposter syndrome is what drives you to be so successful because you never think you're actually successful. So you're just striving for more and more. And what I want to understand from your perspective, interacting with so many people that have imposter syndrome, do you see a similar correlation? Do you think it's something different? Help me understand, how you analyze the
Yeah,
situation.
that's a really interesting analysis. I think it definitely has its own contribution on the process. People is constantly finding ways to get better, to improve themselves, because they're always thinking that it's not enough, from in my case, or from many students that I have for an MIT, for instance, I see that a lot, that they're in a good position with a large company, but they still struggling with imposter syndrome. And I definitely think it's that, like, okay, now I need this recognition, now I need this academic credential, I need this experience. Of course, other thing you mentioned before is necessarily to ask for help. And that's an important thing also. People, especially at some levels within the organization, sometimes they don't like to ask for help. And that's necessary. That's important and really helpful to your growth. Invest in coaching, invest in a mentorship. I truly believe in how important mentorship it is, because in that transition, you will find elements that otherwise you won't see it. I have clients that at the beginning of the conversation with me, they say things like, oh, I don't need help with this. I actually need help with this part, but not this one. And when I start working together and I still pushing them with this portion of the process because I know they need it, and they realize like, oh, that's why I didn't realize this, or I didn't know that I missed this. So this is important because there's a blind spot that you don't see it otherwise if you don't ask for help.
I agree, Melmi. And I think that this point that you just mentioned, you alluded to earlier when you talked about self-awareness. I think fundamentally individuals as people, like I don't know what I don't know, and it's the same for others. And sometimes it takes a couple different times of saying the same thing that this is your blind spot, this is what you need to work on in your business to 10x. for people to understand that, hey, that's the case. But it also circles back to how it has to be a value-driven conversation. To say the reason you need to do this is it will 10x your revenue. If you don't do this, it's fine. Life will go on. You'll 2x your revenue by focusing on something else, but you're focusing on the wrong thing. You need to trust me because I've done this for other people. And you have to kind of show people the proof of concept. You have to show them the social proof. You have to show them the fact that you've been where they are right now and Miyelmi is in a position to help you scale. So, Miyelmi, I mean, I've obviously loved the conversation. I want to be respectful of your time as well. If people are enjoying this conversation and they want to reach out to you to learn more about how you can help them scale, what is the best way for people to reach out to you?
Of course. Well, I have my website, which is my name, MiyelmiiAbraham.com, and also have my LinkedIn, which is the same, Miyelmii Abraham. So I'm the only Miyelmii Abraham in the world. So I think my parents got creative with my name, and my last name has made a combination, so very unique. So I'm the only Miyelmii Abraham so far.
Beautiful, Miyelmi Abraham. I've enjoyed the conversation. If you're listening to this and your brain isn't buzzing with insight right now, rewind the episode and take some notes. From redefining and breaking down leadership to understanding how to build legacy, Miyelmi has given us a masterclass in thinking intentional, investing wisely, living with purpose, and being very strategic in where we set roots. If this conversation made you rethink your path, your pace, or your priorities, consider subscribing to the My Thin Journey podcast. You'll never miss an episode like this. Leave us a 5-star review, comment with your biggest takeaway, and share it with somebody who you think it will add value to. Don't forget to subscribe, rate the show, and drop a review with your biggest takeaway. Until next time, stay intentional, stay disciplined, and remember, your future self is listening to what you do today.